The Recharge.
Hello and welcome to week 3 of The Recharge. I'm Ruben Gonzalez and that's Matthew Stanley. And if you're not familiar with this format, you see the rundown on the screen. I'm going to be throwing those topics out to Matthew and he's going to respond with his opinion and we'll see if we both agree or not. So, without further ado, let's recharge. All right, Matthew, let's dive right into it. Last week, the Chargers fell to 0-2 as they lost to the Miami Dolphins 19-17. Your thoughts on the game as we look back at that heartbreaker of a loss?
Heartbreaker pretty much describes it. That was a rough one to lose. It wasn't so. What was weird is it was a last minute loss like the Chargers experienced a lot last year, but it felt a little different because it wasn't the offense that failed. It wasn't the defense that failed. It really was a special teams kicking failure. Younghoe Koo basically lost that game on his own. Yes, the team could have done a little more to make it so that 2 missed field goals wouldn't have been the difference, but it really was the difference. That Younghoe Koo he just kind of folded a little bit this week, and it was a tough one to lose that way.
It can absolutely be attributed to him, but it almost seemed like, okay, the Chargers were moving the ball, but they didn't put no points on the board, and ultimately, like you said, there was other ways that it didn't have to come down to that last field goal, but it just seemed like they just couldn't put the Dolphins away, and they had opportune time. They just kind of had those drives where they just stalled on them, and I think that's the difference. They have to keep those drives alive, and scoring 17 points in a game which they seem to have dominated most of it, it's just not going to cut it. And you brought up Younghoe Koo. He's not been that cool yet. They say he has a lot of swag. I haven't seen it yet. I can care less if he has any swag. He needs to be able to put that ball right through the uprights.
Yeah, I completely agree. That was a big head scratcher for me when the team decided to go with Younghoe Koo over Josh Lambo because they had so few opportunities to kick in the preseason. That you didn't really get to see how either of them were. I mean, we obviously have some experience with Josh Lambo, and we know, and the team knows how he kicks in game situations, but they didn't have a chance to try out Younghoe Koo in a game situation during the preseason. So it was kind of puzzling, as a bunch of us pointed out, when they made that decision to go with Younghoe Koo to start the season. And I mean, I guess practice only goes so far, so it's. I don't know what's going on in his head. Hopefully he's able to just put it behind him and we don't have a Robert Aguayo situation going on here. Hopefully he comes back like Anthony Lynn says and just lets it roll off his back and comes and kicks 3-4 field goals this week.
Well, they seem to have a lot of faith in him, and so I mean we'll have to wait before the pitchforks start to come out. Let's talk about Melvin Gordon. Second game in a row, really hasn't shown anything, hasn't shown that flash. He's gotten the end zone, but as far as the running game being established, it's been non-existent, actually.
Yeah, they went away from it this week, and Anthony Lynn tried to explain it that it wasn't so much that they abandoned the run, it was just that Miami's defense was giving up so much in the pass game that they felt that it would have been dumb to just try and force running the ball with the way their offense was going. Now, to our point earlier, they didn't score enough points, so there can be an argument made that, okay, yeah, they were giving up some passes, from 20 to 20, but inside the 20-yard line, they needed to try and find something else to do because they got into the red zone a couple times and obviously wound up with 2 missed field goals.
It was the Dolphins with the bend, but don't break defense against us. Speaking about the defense, Super Melvin is reaping what he sows. Been really good.
Yeah, Melvin Ingram has been really good this year. He had a little bit of the Mr. Omos going on again in the first half of this week where he was getting really good pressure, but he had, I think, a big tackle for a loss and a sack that he didn't finish on. But he's just disrupting. He's in the backfield a lot. And it's really encouraging to see because there was a lot of people that were concerned. I was one of them that after signing this big contract, he might have kind of a regression this year.
Donald Brown.
Yep, but he's so far he's performing probably as good, if not better, than he ever has been, especially early in the season. Usually he gets a lot of sacks later in the season, but he's really coming on strong to start the season. It's really encouraging.
lone bright spot of the day, perhaps kind of overshadowed because of the losses. Gates's record. Go ahead. How important was that to the franchise, to Philip and Antonio, and maybe now we could see a little bit more about Hunter?
Yeah, so I think it was a very important thing to get done. I think it was important to get out of the way
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like probably there was some pressure being felt both by Antonio and Philip and probably the coaching staff to get Gates a touchdown, to get him in the end zone and feed him the ball. So hopefully now, like you mentioned, Hunter Henry. Hopefully this opens up the playbook a little bit, especially in the red zone. I mean, Gates is still a really good red zone touchdown weapon, but
Mm-hmm.
hopefully this gives them just a little more confidence to be a little more versatile down there. And I was really happy to see it happen. Obviously, a lot of people around the league threw out their congratulations. Tony Gonzalez had that short video he filmed to congratulate Antonio. It's just such a shame that it had to happen in L.A. And not in San Diego in front of a mostly Dolphins fans in attendance. From what it looked like, I mean, it was. I couldn't be happier for the guy, but it was kind of almost kind of sad to watch. It was bittersweet.
Um, is there still hope for the Chargers this year? They're 0-2. You see the statistics, 0-2 to start the season. It's not very favorable for a Super Bowl run. You still have some hope?
Um, I'm not sure if I have playoff or definitely not Super Bowl hope. I doubt I even have playoff hope still. But I do think that they improve on last year, which is the most important thing. I think there's a chance that the Chargers for some reason the past couple of years have played to the level of their competition, and that's proven in all of their close games. They have so many one score games over the past couple of years that it doesn't they both play down to the level of weaker competition and then rise to the occasion and play up to the level of better competition and always seem to have a close game. And I think they start to finish out those games a little more. It's a young the defense is coming along and they're going to start hitting their groove. They're going to have Mike Williams here soon, and hopefully that provides in a couple weeks, and hopefully that provides more of a red zone presence. So I still have hope for 6 to 8 wins. I'm definitely not calling a tank on the season at this point, but I wouldn't be too hopeful for the playoffs at this point.
So, well, I'm not as hopeful for a Super Bowl run, but I am hopeful that they make a run to get back in playoff contention. Be a playoff, one of those teams that kind of maybe sneaks in there. It's a tough division. That's the problem that we face as Charger fans and the Chargers team as well. It's such a tough division with both all the other three teams at 2-0 this week. So it'll start this week if they can find a way to win this game against KC. We'll find a way possibly to get a successful season. And speaking of Kansas City, let's shift over to that game this week. What is your initial thoughts on Kansas City? Are they the best team in the AFC?
They certainly look like it. They definitely have a better defense than the Raiders. And initially this season, I thought they had a much better offense than the Broncos. But the
Mm-hmm.
Broncos have put together some surprisingly good offensive games. Trevor Siemian's definitely outperforming expectations right now. So I would say the Chiefs definitely. I think I still have them until I see a couple more games out of Trevor Siemian. I still have the Chiefs as probably the best team in the division right now.
Yeah.
But there's also, like we said, it's such a tough division that one or two bad weeks from any of the four teams and the whole division could turn upside down.
So Kansas City comes into town this week. Who are you going to stop? Kareem Hunt or that guy Tyreek Hill? Who would you rather? Who do the Chargers need to stop? Basically.
Well, I think the Chargers, the way they've been playing, Kareem Hunt is probably the bigger concern at this point. The Chargers really haven't been able to stop anybody on the ground. They did okay against the Broncos, but the Broncos aren't that great of a running team. They've got kind of that running back by committee going, and nobody's really a superstar. Although their running back got the split offensive player of the week, I think, this week. But Kareem Hunt he looks special so far. He's going to come back down to earth eventually, but the talent's definitely there. He's definitely a great running back, and Jay Ajayi just carved up this offense last week. I mean, this defense last week, and so it's going to be a rough one. But I think that definitely the bigger concern is Kareem Hunt.
I think I'd have to agree with you. Kareem Hunt is the run game defensively for the Chargers is it's non-existent right now. It's kind of been noticing Joey Bosa kind of doing a lot of whiffing on against the run, and I didn't see that as much last year. I think it's one thing that maybe they're not afraid to run towards him because I don't know. I just see him missing a couple more tackles than usual. I guess a matchup that we're looking forward to, and probably we were looking forward to last year before Keenan Allen got hurt. Him and Marcus Peters were going at it pretty well, and at that point, before he got injured, KA-13 was winning the battle. So this is a much anticipated matchup this Sunday between these two. Is Keenan Allen, is he healthy as he should be to be facing Marcus Peters? Is he 100%?
I think so. He looked really smooth last week against the Dolphins. I noticed even just the way he was running, like the way his body was moving as he was running looked as smooth as I've ever seen him. He kind of looks awkward sometimes running the ball, especially in past seasons. Just something about him, just the way he moves is just slightly awkward. But he just looked so smooth. Like there was a couple times where I confused him for Tyrell Williams on coming across the middle because he was just moving so well. And he definitely he was putting cornerbacks on skates last week with his inside moves. So I definitely think he's healthy enough and motivated enough, and he's going to make it a really good competition against Peters this week.
Hope we see a lot of those things that Keenan does after those first downs.
His first down pumps.
We're going to need that. As far as defensively for these two teams, which team's going to have more sacks? We have become accustomed to the Chargers now being in that sack race. Of course, the Chiefs are established pass rushers. So who do you think will have more sacks after this game on Sunday?
So it's a lot of it's going to depend on if Joe Barksdale is actually healthy and if he's going to be able to make this full game. Obviously, they had a lot of problems last week after Barksdale went down and Harrison had to step in. Now Harrison's off the roster, so they've got Sam Tevy, who's a rookie, or they also just signed Tyler Mars from the Titans practice squad, and he's been all last year on the practice squad. Now there is some familiarity there. He was on the offensive line when Melvin Gordon was at Wisconsin, but neither of those guys are experienced at all. Neither of them have regular season playing experience. Yeah. So as long as Joe Barksdale stays healthy, I think that the Chargers the offensive line has been doing a really good job of pass protection, and we talked about it a little bit offline this week that Rivers still looks a little anxious in the pocket. And I think it's just that he's still learning how to trust this offensive line because his pass protection has been so bad the past couple of seasons that he needed to build that confidence. And I think we might start even seeing that this week, especially with the pass rushers that they're going to be facing. If Rivers gets a quarter or two in and he's not really faced any heat, I think that's going to be a big difference. And Rivers is going to feel a lot more confident. And so what I'm hoping for and what I'm thinking is that it's going to be pretty even, but I think the Chargers might get just a little more pressure on Alex Smith.
Let's hope so. I would like to see the Chargers be the kings of the AFC West as far as sacks. I would love for them to be known as the team. And if they do, that'd be such an accomplishment for such a young pass rush duo they have. And we'll also probably see Phylon. Phylon's been earning his keep. We've talked about Keenan Allen, Marcus Peters. Give me two more matchups you're anticipating for our three-match segment.
So we already just kind of highlighted a little bit, but I think Justin Houston versus Joe Barksdale is going to be a really important matchup, a really good one to watch. And basically, they're outside rushers versus our tackles, and the Chargers outside rushers versus the Chiefs tackles. That's going to be the matchup to watch. Another matchup to watch is going to be the Chargers linebackers versus both Kareem Hunt and Travis Kelce, because both of them are very good pass catchers. Travis Kelce is basically a supersized wide receiver, and the Chargers linebackers have been having a lot of problems in coverage. So it's going to be really important for probably the safeties to step up, and probably a lot of nickel, get some corner and safety help for the linebackers to take care of those threats over the middle.
Interesting that we went the whole KC preview without mentioning Travis Kelce to this point. Hopefully, since he is the opposing team, hopefully he can get a couple of those timely penalties against himself.
Yeah, hopefully they can frustrate him enough that he makes a mistake.
Yeah. Let's wrap it up now. What's your KC prediction for this Sunday?
So I really want to predict a win, but I've done that the past 2 weeks, and the Chargers have let me down. And based on how they were playing last season and based on the first 2 weeks of the season, until they prove they can finish out a game, I'm going to have to go against them when they're playing a team that, at least on paper, looks superior. So I think it's probably going to be Chiefs 24, Chargers 20.
Okay. I'm Mr. Optimistic until proven otherwise, until maybe we get to week 16 or something. So I'm going to predict a Charger win, 31-27. It's going to come down to a final drive by the Chiefs, and we're going to get a strip sack by either Melvin Ingram or Joey Bosa, and we're going to end the game just like that. So I've got the Chargers winning 31-27. Final thoughts on this week's game?
I think it's going to be good. It's always scary when they play the Chiefs, because even though he's definitely not known as like a super mobile quarterback, Alex Smith for some reason just finds ways to get loose against this Chargers defense. And so they're definitely they have a lot of problems to contain, and it's going to be a really tough challenge for this Chargers defense when the Chiefs are on the field.
All right, Matthew. Thanks for getting together again and getting this recharge week 3. Hope to see you guys next week, and I hope that it's after a Charger win. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for watching us.